Hello, how's everybody doing? I hope all is well as I get the broadcast started. I hope you had a great holiday weekend. I'm Jess. For those of you, if this is your first time tuning in, I am the founder of Black Travelers Network. And, today is a day that I'm quite excited and happy to do the live because I feel like the live is a great way of us to communicate with those of you who are a part of the Black Travelers Network family. And so definitely, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not done so at this point, make it a point to subscribe to the channel. And, the likes, whether you like the video or not, it kind of is meaningless. We just really want the video to get populated to as many people as possible. So if you can be so kind, if you join the live, to just give it a thumbs up. And that helps the algorithm to show and to share this with as many people as possible. If you saw the live that happened over this weekend, then you would know that I'm still trying to get accustomed to the software. So me learning about the software and doing a live broadcast is really quite helpful to myself, as well as to getting out the larger, greater message. And today, if you notice the title, what we're going to talk about today is the 5 ways we sabotage our success. And by we, you can apply the we however you choose to apply the we. For some, the we may mean me or you or the collective we as a group of Black travelers, or, Black folks, however you choose to interpret the we is fine. I can honestly say that some of this I really, really identify with myself. And so before I get into today's topic, I want to do a few quick shout outs to what we have going on. And of course, many of you are already quite familiar with our trip that we have that comes almost every year. And I say almost every year because of the fact that, the pandemic had a heavy impact on travel all over. But if you're looking at your screen, you know that February of next year, of course, is Carnival, the real Carnival season. And so I will always lead with the Rio Carnival trip because it's something you can and you should be on board with. If you have not registered to join us, you still have time. We still have space. So definitely make it happen, as what you're seeing on your screen says. Make it happen. This experience happens in February. It's very, very affordably priced. And I love that we can bring it to you at an affordable price because so many things are going up all over the country, all over the world, in fact. And producing these kinds of travel experiences gets a little bit more expensive every year. And so if you are able to join us, it would be absolutely fantastic. We'd love to host you by yourself, you and your friends, however you choose to travel is also very much welcomed. And I'm also going to talk about briefly, because I did a whole video on this. Let me see if I can grab the image really quickly. We have the Sisters Confidential network. It's kind of like a group of a small group of women who come together, who are really focused on our success. And networking in a way that puts us ahead and puts us in the spaces and the places that we choose to be in. That's something that I feel very, very strongly about. And I wish more sisters would get behind it. I think these spaces are very important for Black women, especially, to have, because when it comes to the men, there's so many opportunities that brothers have and they take when they as men can get on the same page. And I love to commend the brothers about that, because I feel like I'd love to see more of the sisters get on the same page and be able to unite around some of the things that we find important as women, because obviously our priorities as women are different than the priorities of men. And so if you're looking at your screen, you'll see the image that we have for the Sisters Confidential. We have Women's Week that happens in 2023. It takes place in Cape Town, South Africa, on top of it being a week of travel and touring. We do incorporate a 2-day seminar in that. So if you've not tuned in and heard about that, definitely make it a point to email us to get more info on that event. We'd love to have you. But part one, which is my favorite part, actually is a part that we begin next month, where we'll bring all the ladies together to meet online, and we will start the what I call our Sisters Confidential Strategy sessions, where we will take stock of the wants, needs, and desires of our ladies, and we will strategically map and plan our way to success. And it's designed to create an environment of sisters who are going to be supportive of each other. We all have something very unique and different to bring to the table. And so if you are wanting to plug into a new group or a new network of women, we invite you. It's only $99, very inexpensive. We'll meet monthly, and it's a really fantastic opportunity for us as ladies to find some common ground. Okay, so let's get into today's topic. Enough with the shouts and you kindly being so patient as I get things set up on the back end. But I want to talk today about the 5 ways we sabotage ourselves. And I obviously have to start with the travel aspect of everything, because this is a travel platform, a travel community where we produce and provide travel content. And so the first way that I always instantly notice when it comes to whether it's the brothers or the sisters, the number one, let me take that back. It's in no particular order, but one of the primary ways in which we sabotage ourselves and our success is we don't travel. It's so simple and it's so straightforward, but so many of us get caught into the daily grind of going to work. And for those of you who have children, taking care of the children, which is the number one priority typically when we're talking about the family structure or men and women and their priorities. A lot of times your kids are your primary responsibility, so I definitely get that. But travel is up there and should be up there when it comes to education. So many of our people don't look at travel as a form of education. And I understand exactly why, because I'm going to get to that piece of it. But to keep yourself in one particular environment is to do yourself a major disservice, because the greater world and what's happening is not at home in your house, or it's not, a lot of times it may or may not even be in your city. And so when we talk about how we live today and how quickly the world is moving, you definitely want to incorporate travel into that scenario. And it's the ways of the world. I mean, look, I think one of the bigger headlines for within the last 2 weeks is this whole Roe v. Wade decision. And to be honest, I don't get too much into the Supreme Court and how, what they feel regarding this whole Roe versus Wade issue. But I use it as an example to say that for so many people, this one decision by the Supreme Court will impact whether or not they are able to stay in their home state, or whether or not they have to be able to have the resources to afford to go to a different state to get or have a legal abortion, if that's what the men and women who produce a child choose to do. So even with that decision, there's a travel component for so many people in this country. And so we're living in a society where if you don't travel, you are at a huge disadvantage. And when you think about the trajectory that you're on when it comes to the direction in which your life is going, if you do not travel, you are sabotaging your success, because so much is on the other side of a road trip or a flight. These are the things you may need to do in order to create other opportunities for yourself that may not exist, or may exist at a very minimal level within your home city or your home state. So definitely travel. Do not sabotage your success by staying in one place. The second way in which we sabotage our own success is we only travel to turn up or to vacation. And see, these are really the most common reasons why people travel. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I think these are important reasons to travel, because to be quite honest, most people would never travel if it were not for them needing or wanting to go on vacation, or if it were not for them wanting to get to a nice little party outside of their home city or their state. I've had some great fun traveling to turn up. I mean, I believe my last major turn up was on the other side of international flight when we went to Canada for ski weekend. So shout out to those of you who are a part of the Black Travelers Network community, because you attended the MLK ski weekend. Those were really great, fun moments, and a long, never-ending weekend in Canada that we had. And so I just wanted to say that those are important reasons to travel, but they're just not the only reason. And this is why they travel and why they travel, because it's always, for some, connected to turning up and having a great time, or it's connected to going on vacation. And so we have to highlight the other reasons why, there are a variety of reasons why you can travel, and one of which is for self-enrichment and education. When I say self-enrichment, I mean, sometimes you just need to get in a new, different environment. Doing the same thing day in and day out gets lame and boring. And in order to feed yourself and feed your soul, whether you know it or not, changing your environment is critical. It's absolutely critical. And so that's the enrichment part of travel. That is a reason why you should travel. The education part, I've learned so much more from going to different countries than I ever learned in school. I mean, even the things that I learned in school are put into better context, and I understood it better once I was able to get out there in the real world and travel. I always use this example because every time I go to South Africa, it always reminds me of what I did when I was in high school and drive down to the Cape of Good Hope. It's never, ever disappoints. And so anytime I'm in that environment, I always throw it back to the first time I ever even heard of that, which was when I was in high school. And so education puts things into context for you, not to mention what you learn about other people, other cultures, other foods. I mean, just traveling just to eat some good high quality food beyond the States is a reason to book a flight. Education is another reason. Having a peace of mind and focus, are other reasons that should allow you to travel or should push you to travel. And when I say should push you, meaning these are purposeful ways in which you can start to think about travel that would hopefully help you into getting to the next level of success. Because being in an environment that's peaceful, that you have the ability to control, like when you can sit in front of your computer and say, hey, look, I want to go, I don't know, let's say you want to go to Jamaica. You have the ability to choose where in Jamaica you want to go, how long you want to be, where you want to stay, which is a critical piece of travel, because the environment in which you stay in will help you to relax, hopefully, if you choose the right place. But also give you the ability to focus on completing a project. Before I created Black Travelers Network, it was not uncommon for me to do what I call a staycation, where I would book one of the most luxurious hotel rooms in the city that I was in. I may drop $2 or $3 grand on staying in the hotel room for 2 or 3 days, depending on where I was. And it allowed me to be in a more luxurious environment. It allowed me time with my computer. It allowed me to turn my cell phone off and just focus on the time that I had and have great people in the hotel wait on me, because when you spend a certain amount of money, you get a certain level of service. That's the other thing, you get a certain level of service, you get a certain level of attention when you have a specific goal in which you're focusing on, and you're willing to put resources behind seeing that goal come into fruition. And so travel does that and can do that in terms of, if you create time, you create space, and you create the environment that you want to work and function in, it will allow you the chance to focus on completing a goal or a task or a project. So for those of you who may be balancing your heavy workload and taking some courses, I would strongly encourage you to create a time in which you can, whether it's in your own city or in a different city or in a different part of the world, create the time to book you a beautiful hotel room with the kind of environment that's a reflection of what will help you to relax and motivate you. I always chose luxurious spaces because I like to be in environments where, you know, you can run into other people who are financially successful. And so that would be a reflection on the places and the spaces that I would choose to be in. And so it would allow me to dine really well. It would allow me to go down to the hotel bar to see who I can see. And it would allow me to go up to my beautiful hotel room and sit at the desk and focus on whatever it was doing. I would focus on whatever I was doing online to produce the result that I wanted. And so that's number 2. We sabotage our success only when we travel to turn up or to vacation. And I've given you 4 other reasons why you should travel. So mix it up a little bit. Mix it up. Okay. The third reason, the third way, I should say, in which we sabotage our success is number 3. We stay within our circle of friends and family. You know, I love my family. I love my friends because I actually feel like, you get a chance to choose the friends that you have. And because I love those 2 groups of people, they tend to be very, very important to me. I always say that as much as I love them and as important to me as they are, it's equally as important for me to put myself in different environments and to put myself in the environment that I want to be. And so I feel like one element of how we sabotage ourselves is when we stay within those friend groups and those family groups and we don't branch out to learn more about other people, to learn more about other places. This is very, very critical to your long-term success, is defining the environment, creating the environment that you want to be in. This is part of why I created the Sisters Confidential network of women within the context of the Black Travelers Network family. I believe that I want to surround myself with other women who want the best and who are willing to work together to figure out solutions and strategies to achieving whatever it is they see as a priority. For some, the priority is expanding their network for career purposes. For some, it may be they want a better quality of a man. Sometimes when depending on the city that you're in, sometimes, you get a certain type of man. And you get a certain type of man who has a certain type of job that makes a certain level of income. And there's nothing wrong with that. I firmly believe there's somebody for everyone. So I don't criticize. I'm not in the habit of criticizing men who only earn a certain amount, because everybody starts from somewhere. And there is, as I said, someone for everybody. But there are certain women who are used to dating those kinds of men, and that kind of gets old. And so for some women, they want to establish a different group of women that they're a part of and that they're connected to, because it helps them to have better options in terms of the men. Well, most people would say, well, how does that happen? Well, it typically happens because when you find someone who has the similar interests, that means you guys are likely to have similar ideas in terms of places you'd like to visit. You have similar spending habits. There's a lot of similarities around the kind of goals you may have. And so I always feel like, it's better to have one or two women who can roll with you whenever, however, wherever you want to go. And whether it's pursuing career success or finding the right kind of romantic partner, it's just great to have some sort of partner in that. And so I hope that is another avenue in which it invites more women in particular, but people in general, to just change up your group of friends. It's definitely a reflection of the kind of success you will have. And I say that because one of the other big stories that came out this week is the story that came out about this super successful comedian, Jasmine Brown. If you don't watch her, she has a Instagram account called Watch Jazzy, for those of you who don't know. But long story short, she was being interviewed by Shan Boody. She has a podcast. Her real name is Shan Boodram. I believe she's a sex therapist. And she brought Jazzy on because Jazzy was basically talking about the importance of submission. And it's one of those topics that for everybody, men, women, we all have an opinion on submission. Everybody has a different perspective in terms of what it looks like. But the thing that struck me about this particular viral clip was Jasmine Brown is actually rumored, allegedly, most likely, dating NFL star Cam Newton. And she talked about in this interview how she submits 100%. And for her, she defines submission as being her doing everything. But even though not all of her needs are getting met, she goes all hard in the paint for her man, Cam Newton. And I'm certainly one of those people that I'm not in the business of telling women how they should submit to, really anybody, okay? Especially their husbands. But I do think it's a bit different when you're dealing with a boyfriend versus dealing with a husband. I don't know about the whole submission and how it relates to a boyfriend. It just seems a bit extreme. My own personal opinion, I feel like it's extreme if you're talking about submitting to a boyfriend, someone who has not made a full, complete commitment to you. But I only use that as an example to say that that's a bit of a reflection of the kind of environment she has grown up in and the environment that she is currently in among her friends. Because she talked about how she grew up with her parents, and I believe Jasmine Brown, beautiful, beautiful sister. I believe she is from Caribbean roots. And I believe that's her background, if I'm not mistaken. Her mom and dad are both Caribbean. She grew up here in the United States. And I only say that because we have to acknowledge that Black America is a reflection of different cultures from the African diaspora. And oftentimes when you travel, how a woman treats or submits to her man or her husband is different depending on where you are in the world, as well as the cultural background. And so although I personally feel that is a bit much for a boyfriend, it doesn't surprise me because she has a Caribbean background, which is a different culture than an American culture, an American upbringing, an American background. Not better, not worse, it's just different, right? And so this is why I say we must travel more because you learn so much more about women, about men, about culture, and the role that it plays in a person's life. And so staying within your circle of friends will not necessarily get that level of exposure, and it can ultimately sabotage your level of success. Because the interesting thing about her relationship is, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Cam Newton is from an American background, and whereas both of her parents are Caribbean, so that Caribbean influence has come out in terms of how she was raised. I know she said that she was brought up with her mother having done everything for her father. So that is a reflection of the environment she grew up in. Whereas Cam Newton, if I'm not mistaken, I believe his mom and his dad, they've been married for like, if I'm not mistaken, over 35 years. And I believe his father may even be a pastor. And so they're very traditional Black American values, Black American upbringing. And so it's just interesting. You have a woman who's from a Caribbean background, in a Caribbean culture, and then you have a Black American man who's from an American background and an American culture. And I just wonder how much of what she is doing is interpreted by him as being real submission versus, how much of that submission, and I say submission very loosely because this is her terminology, I don't necessarily agree with it, but how much of what she gives is reciprocated, and what role do their cultural upbringings and their cultural backgrounds play in their relationship. It's very, very fascinating, very interesting. But it was actually travel that helped me to understand more about why Black men in particular love traveling to some of these exotic countries, places like Brazil. At first I never understood. I'm like, okay, yeah, the women are beautiful in Brazil, but I mean, what is it? Like, okay, a man can find beautiful women all over the world. What's so special about Brazil?